The sky above Seoul burned orange and red. Taewon stood on the roof of the government building and watched his world die. Smoke rose from every direction. The air tasted like metal and ash. He could hear the screams even from this high up. The Kreeth were everywhere. They looked like insects but bigger than cars. 6 days was all it took to destroy everything humans had built. Taewon touched his side. Blood covered his hand. A Kreeth soldier had shot him 3 hours ago. He should be in a hospital. But there were no hospitals anymore. Just ruins and fire and bodies. "Sir, you need to sit down," Haerin said. She was a commander in the Earth Defense Fleet. What was left of it, anyway? Her uniform was torn and covered in dust. A cut ran across her cheek. "How many ships do we have left?" Taewon asked. Haerin looked at the ground. 12. Out of 300. Taewon closed his eyes. 12 ships. Earth had 17 billion people yesterday. Now the count was dropping every second. The Kreeth did not take prisoners. They did not want Earth's resources. They just wanted humans gone. "Why?" Taewon asked. "Why are they doing this?" "Does it matter?" Haerin said. Her voice was tired. "In 6 hours, there won't be anyone left to ask." A bright light appeared in the sky. Taewon thought it was another Kreeth ship. He was too tired to be afraid anymore. But Haerin grabbed his arm. "That's not them," she said. The light grew bigger. Then it split into many lights. Ships. Dozens of them. But these ships looked different. They were smooth and curved, like drops of water. Nothing like the sharp, ugly Kreeth vessels. Taewon's communication device crackled. A voice spoke in broken English. "Earth, we hear. Your calls. We come. Who is this?" Haerin grabbed the device from Taewon's hand. "We are. Velnari. We come. To help." The water-like ships moved between Earth and the Kreeth fleet. They were not warships. Taewon could see that right away. They were cargo vessels, medical ships, transport carriers. The Velnari had brought their merchant fleet to face an invasion force. "No," Taewon whispered. "They'll be destroyed." But the Velnari ships did something unexpected. They did not fight. They surrounded the Kreeth fleet and released something into space. A cloud of bright particles. The Kreeth ships suddenly stopped moving. Their weapons went silent. "What is that?" Haerin asked. "Disruption field," the Velnari voice said. The English was getting better. "It will hold for 3 hours. We must hurry." "Hurry for what?" "To save you. All of you we can reach." For the next 2 hours, Taewon watched something he would never forget. The Velnari ships landed in every city still standing. They opened their cargo holds. Humans ran inside by the thousands. The aliens did not ask questions. They did not check documents. They just pulled people aboard as fast as they could. Taewon learned later that the Velnari were not warriors. They were traders and explorers. They had heard Earth's distress signals from across the galaxy. Their own military was small and far away, so they came with what they had. Merchant ships full of medicine and food and empty cargo space. Haerin organized the evacuation from Seoul. She sent her remaining pilots to guide people to the landing zones. Taewon tried to help, but his wound was getting worse. He collapsed against a wall. A Velnari found him there. The alien looked like a smooth, blue-skinned person, but with large eyes and no nose. It wore a silver suit that seemed to be filled with water. "You are injured," the Velnari said. It spoke perfect English now. "Save the children first," Taewon said. "I'm not important. All life is important," the Velnari said. Its voice was soft. "But if you wish, help us save more. We need coordinators." Taewon nodded. The alien gave him something to drink. They worked together for the next hour. The Velnari had brought translation devices. Taewon helped organize groups of refugees. Families stayed together. Medical cases went on certain ships. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. Then the Kreth disruption field began to fail. "We have 40 minutes," a Velnari captain named Kivsha said. She looked young, even by alien standards. "We must leave soon." "How many have you saved?" Taewon asked. 2,100,000,000, Kivsha said. "But we lost half our ships. They are full beyond safety limits. And still, so many remain." Taewon looked at the crowd still waiting. Thousands in this city alone. Millions across the planet. There was not enough time. Not enough ships. "We will remember this," Taewon said. He grabbed Kivsha's hand. It felt cool and wet. "What you did today. We will never forget." Kivsha looked sad. "I wish we could do more." "You crossed the galaxy for strangers," Taewon said. Blood was soaking through his bandage again. "You used your merchant ships as rescue vessels. You are sacrificing your own people's resources. Why?" "Because it is right," Kivsha said simply. "Because when we heard your world screaming, we could not ignore it. Because someday, any species might need help. We hope others would do the same for us." Taewon felt tears on his face. He was not sure when he had started crying. "If you survive," Kivsha said, "find us. The Velnari homeworld is called Pelshara. It is in the Kepler 442 system. Come find us when you are safe." "I will," Taewon said. "And I promise you this. If your people are ever in danger, if you ever need help, humanity will come. We will cross any distance. We will face any enemy. We will repay this debt." Kivsha started to say that no debt existed. But then the alarms sounded. The Kreth were moving again. "Go!" Taewon pushed her toward the ship. "Save everyone you can." The Velnari ships lifted off. Taewon watched them rise into the burning sky. They moved in formation, protecting each other. The Kreth fired at them. 3 Velnari ships exploded, but the rest escaped into faster-than-light travel, taking 2 billion humans with them. Taewon sat down on the ground. Around him, the remaining humans stood in silence. They had no ships left, no weapons, no hope, but they had something else now. They had allies, somewhere, in the galaxy. They had a future, even if it was far away. They had a debt to repay. Haerin sat down next to him. "Did you really promise them we would help?" "Yes," Taewon said. "We have nothing left." "How can we help anyone?" Taewon looked at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. "Not now, but someday. We will rebuild. We will grow strong. And when the Velnari need us, we will be there. Even if it takes 300 years. Haerin nodded slowly. 300 years is a long time. "Not long enough to forget," Taewon said. "Never long enough to forget what they did for us today." The Kreth returned to finish their work. But some humans survived in shelters and hidden bunkers. The Velnari returned 3 times over the next month, risking everything to pull more refugees from the dying planet. By the end, 3 billion humans lived, scattered across Velnari colony worlds. And every single one of them knew the story. Every human child born in exile learned about the day the Velnari came. They learned about the promise Taewon made. Humanity never forgot. They were very good at remembering. 300 years changed everything. Jae-hwan stood on the bridge of the warship Eternal Vigil and watched the fleet maneuvers on his screen. 500 ships moved in perfect formation. Each one was armed with weapons that could crack planets. Each one was crewed by soldiers who trained their entire lives for war. This was just one fleet. Humanity had 20 more just like it. "Admiral." "The patrol reports are in," said his second officer. "All borders secure." Jae-hwan nodded. He was 50 years old, with gray hair and 3 scars across his jaw. He had been in the military since he was 16. So had his father, and his grandfather. 300 years had turned humanity into something new. They had become warriors. The Velnari had given them technology. Faster-than-light drives, energy shields, medical advances that doubled human lifespans. They had given humans sanctuary on 12 colony worlds. They had asked for nothing in return. But humans remembered what happened when they were weak. They remembered Earth burning. They remembered having no way to fight back. They swore it would never happen again. So they built ships. They trained soldiers. They studied war like other species studied art. Human children learned tactics before they learned history. Human factories produced weapons instead of luxuries. Every human adult spent 2 years in military service. Other species called them paranoid, aggressive, dangerous. Humans called it being prepared. Message coming in from Intelligence Division, the communications officer said. Director Bora wants to speak with you privately. 2. R. 2. Jae Hwan went to his office. The screen lit up with Bo-Ra's face. She was younger than him, only 35. But she had been running intelligence operations for 10 years. She looked tired. We have a problem, Bo-Ra said without greeting. The Thekvar Empire is moving ships toward Velnari space. Jae-Hwan felt something cold in his chest. How many ships? 2,000. Maybe more. They have been building up forces for 3 months. We thought they were doing exercises. But yesterday, they started moving toward the border. Does the council know? Bo-Ra made a bitter sound. The council does not care. They say the Thekvar are just repositioning. They say it is normal fleet movement. They refuse to investigate. Jae-Hwan closed his eyes. The Galactic Council was made of 40 different species. They met on a station called Unity Point and made laws for civilized space. Humans had asked to join 5 times. 5 times they were rejected. Too aggressive, the council said. Too focused on military matters. What does the president say? Jae-Hwan asked. Sung Ho is calling an emergency session of the Federation. He wants all military commanders present. The meeting is in 6 hours. Jae-Hwan looked at the picture on his desk. It showed Tae-Won, the diplomat who had made the first promise. He was Jae-Hwan's great-great-grandfather. The picture was old and faded, but the words beneath it were clear. We will remember. When you need us, we will come. I will be there, Jae-Hwan said. The Federation meeting took place on New Seoul, the largest human colony world. Every important person in human space attended. Military commanders, political leaders, business owners, scientists, even some civilians who had earned the right to speak at council. President Sung Ho was a tall man with white hair. He had been a soldier before becoming a politician. Most human leaders had been soldiers first. 3 hours ago, Sung Ho said, we received a message from the Velnari homeworld. The room went silent. They asked if we remembered the promise made 300 years ago. They asked if humanity still honors its debts. Sung Ho pressed a button. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a Velnari city. Buildings were on fire. Ships burned in the sky. Bodies floated in the water-filled streets. This is Pelmar, a Velnari colony world. The Thekvar Empire attacked 2 days ago. They claim the Velnari violated some old treaty. They say they are taking back territory that belongs to them. But we know the truth. The Velnari found a cache of ancient technology on that world. Technology that could revolutionize energy production. The Thekvar want it. Another image appeared. This one showed dead Velnari. Children, families, civilians, who never hurt anyone. Jae-Hwan felt rage burning in his chest. Around him, others reacted the same way. Some cursed. Some wept. Some just stared with cold eyes that promised violence. The Velnari military is small. Sung Ho continued. They have maybe 200 ships. The Thekvar have 10,000. This is not a war. This is extermination. The Galactic Council is debating sanctions. They might issue a formal complaint in a few months. Sung-ho's voice grew hard. In a few months, there will be no Velnari left to save. A commander named Yeon-woo stood up. She was the captain of the Eternal Vigil, Jae-hwan's ship. She was known for being calm and professional. But now, her hands shook with anger. "We need to mobilize immediately," she said. "Every ship, every soldier. We go to Velnari space, and we end this." "The council will object," someone said. "They will say we are starting a war." "They can object all they want," Yeon-woo shot back. "The Velnari saved us when we had nothing. They gave us everything. Now they need us. And you want to wait for permission?" Jae-hwan stood up. 300 years ago, my ancestor made a promise. He said humanity would repay its debt. He said we would come when the Velnari needed us. I say we honor that promise. Now, one by one. Others stood. Military commanders, ship captains, soldiers. Within minutes, everyone in the room was on their feet. President Sung-ho looked at them all. "You understand what this means? The Thekvar Empire is powerful. They have allies. If we attack them, we might be declaring war on half the galaxy. Then half the galaxy will learn why you do not threaten humanity's friends," Jae-hwan said. Sung-ho nodded slowly. "Then, it is decided. As of this moment, the Human Federation is at war with the Thekvar Empire. We will mobilize every military asset. We will cross into Velnari space, and we will stop this invasion." He pressed another button. A message began broadcasting on every frequency humanity used. Every human world. Every ship. Every soldier. 300 years ago, when we were ash and blood, the Velnari gave us tomorrow. They crossed the galaxy to save strangers. They sacrificed their ships and their people for us. Today, we repay that debt. Today, humanity goes to war. Bo-ra stepped forward. "I have prepared something for the galaxy. A message that will explain why we are doing this." She showed them a recording. It contained everything. Images of Earth burning, videos of Velnari ships rescuing humans, audio of Tae-won making his promise. Then it showed 300 years of humanity preparing, training, building, growing strong. The final image was simple. A human soldier standing alone against a dark sky. The text beneath said, "We remember. And we are coming." "Send it to every species in the galaxy," Sung-ho ordered. "Let them all know. The Velnari are under human protection now. Anyone who harms them will answer to us." Jae-hwan left the meeting and returned to his ship. His crew was already preparing for combat. They moved with practiced efficiency. Everyone knew their job. Everyone was ready. A young ensign approached him. "Sir, the other fleets are reporting in. We will have 10,000 ships ready to move in 12 hours. 10,000, Jae-hwan repeated. "The same number the Thekvar have." "Yes, sir, it will be an even fight." Jae-hwan shook his head. "No, it will not be even at all. Because the Thekvar fight for conquest. We fight for family." He looked at the picture of his great-great-grandfather one more time. Then he gave the order. "All ships prepare for quantum jump. Destination, Velnari space. It is time to honor a promise. 300 years old. Across human space, ships began to move. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Weapons were loaded. Engines powered up. Humanity was going to war. And the galaxy was about to learn something important. When humans make a promise, they keep it, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it costs. The Velnari had saved humanity once. Now humanity would save them, or die trying. The Galactic Council chamber was huge. It held representatives from 40 different species. Each one sat in special seats designed for their body type. Some breathed oxygen. Some breathed methane. Some did not breathe at all. Hyun-soo stood in the center of the chamber. He was the human ambassador, though humans were not council members. He was only here because he had demanded an emergency session. The council did not like being demanded anything. Ambassador Hyun-soo, said Council Speaker Talvek. He was a tall, gray-skinned species called the Kormesh. You have interrupted important proceedings. This better be urgent. The Thekvar Empire is committing genocide, Hyun-soo said. His voice was calm, too calm. They have attacked 3 Velnari colony worlds. Millions are dead. This is urgent. The Thekvar claim they are reclaiming stolen territory, said another council member. This is a legal dispute, not genocide. They are bombing cities full of civilians, Hyun-soo said. How is that legal? The situation is complicated, Talvek said. We have formed a committee to investigate. We will have a report in 6 to 8 months. In 8 months, the Velnari will be extinct. That is an exaggeration, said a council member from a species called the Brentari. The Thekvar are civilized. They follow the Galactic Accords. They would not. They burned children, Hyun-soo interrupted. I have the recordings. Would you like to see them? The council chamber shifted uncomfortably. No one wanted to see the recordings. We understand your concern, Talvek said. But the council cannot intervene in every border dispute. We must follow proper procedures. Hyun-soo looked at each council member. They would not meet his eyes. They knew what was happening. They just did not care enough to stop it. The Velnari were a small species. Peaceful. They had no military power, no economic leverage, nothing to make the council act. Then humanity will act, Hyun-soo said. The chamber went quiet. What did you say? Talvek asked. The Velnari saved humanity 300 years ago. We owe them a debt. We are repaying it. As of 6 hours ago, humanity is at war with the Thekvar Empire. The chamber exploded with noise. Representatives shouted. Some cursed in their own languages. Others demanded Hyun-soo be removed. Talvek raised his hand for silence. You cannot declare war. Humans are not a council species. You have no authority to. We do not need your authority, Hyun-soo said. We are not asking permission. We are informing you of what will happen. Any Thekvar military vessel in Velnari space will be destroyed. Any Thekvar soldier on Velnari worlds will be eliminated. This is not negotiable. Number 1. Any Thekvar soldier on Velnari worlds. A Thekvar representative stood up. His species looked like large reptiles with 4 arms. They were known for being aggressive and proud. Humans are insects playing at war, the Thekvar said. We have 10,000 warships. We have conquered 30 star systems. What do you have? A few colonies and stolen technology? We will crush you. Ah, Hyun-soo smiled. It was not a nice smile. Would you like to see what we have? He pressed a button on his communication device. Screens appeared all around the council chamber. They showed human military bases, shipyards, training centers, 300 years of preparation. This is our first fleet, Hyun-soo said. The screen showed 500 warships. We have 20 fleets like this. 10,000 ships total, each one crewed by soldiers who have trained their entire lives for combat. The next image showed a human marine in full armor. The suit made them look like machines. Weapons covered every surface. This is a human soldier. They can fight in any environment. Vacuum, water, acid, atmosphere. They can operate for 48 hours without sleep. They carry enough ammunition to fight for 6 hours straight. And they never stop. Ever. More images appeared. Human weapons. Human tactics. Human victories. For 300 years, humanity had been selling their military skills as mercenaries. They had fought in 50 different conflicts. They had never lost. You think we are playing at war? Hyun-soo asked the Thekvar representative. War is what we do. It is what we have become. And now you have given us a reason to show the galaxy exactly what that means. The Thekvar representative tried to speak, but Hyun-soo was not done. Do you know why the Velnari saved us? Hyun-soo asked. Because they believed it was right. Because they heard strangers screaming, and they came to help. They lost half their merchant fleet to save people they had never met. What has the council done? You sit in this comfortable chamber and debate procedures while people die. Hyun-soo looked at Talvek. We will broadcast a message on every frequency in the galaxy. Everyone will hear it. And then they will understand. The Velnari are under human protection. Anyone who harms them will face us. You are making a mistake, Talvek said. The Thekvar have allies. You will be starting a war you cannot win. Then we will die trying, Hyun-soo said. 300 years ago, we had nothing. We were refugees. The galaxy ignored us. The council did not save us. The Velnari did, and we remember. Humans are very good at remembering. He walked toward the exit. Behind him, the council erupted into arguments again. Some species supported humanity. Most did not. But it did not matter anymore. Humanity had made its choice. In the communications center of Unity Point Station, Mina worked fast. She was a communications officer, young and skilled. Her job was to send the message humanity had prepared. The message that would change everything. Are you sure about this? Her supervisor asked. Once we send it, there is no taking it back. I am sure. She pressed the button. The message began broadcasting on every frequency known to galactic civilization. Every planet, every ship, every species with a radio telescope would receive it. The message was simple. It showed the destruction of Earth 300 years ago. It showed the Velnari arriving to help. It showed the promise that Taewon made. Then it showed humanity's response. The final part of the message was just text on a screen. To the Thekvar Empire. You have attacked our benefactors. You have harmed the species that saved us when no one else would. You have 48 hours to withdraw all forces from Velnari space and pay full reparations. If you do not, humanity will consider every Thekvar military asset a legitimate target. We will not stop until this war is over. We will show no mercy. To the Galactic Council. You have failed, the Velnari. You have chosen procedure over justice. Humanity will not make that mistake. We are coming to defend our friends. Stay out of our way. To the Velnari. 300 years ago, you saved us. Today, we save you. Hold on. We are coming. To everyone else in the galaxy. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when someone threatens humanity's friends. Because if you ever need help, if you are ever in danger, humanity will remember that too. We keep our promises. All of them. The message ended with an image. A human fleet in formation, weapons armed, moving toward Velnari space. Mina watched the message broadcast across the galaxy. Her hands were shaking. This was it. Humanity was announcing to every species in civilized space that they were going to war. In a military command center on New Seoul, Da-eun monitored the responses. She ran the psychological warfare division. Her job was to understand how other species would react. The responses came fast. Some species were supportive. Smaller nations that had also been ignored by the council. They sent messages of encouragement. They called humans brave. Some were angry. Thekvar allies demanded humans stand down. They threatened sanctions, military action. They said humanity was being reckless. But most reactions were something else. Fear. Species that had known about humanity but never really paid attention were suddenly watching closely. They were going through records of human conflicts. Looking at human victories. Realizing that this peaceful-looking species had won every war they had ever fought. Look at this, one of Da-eun's analysts said. He showed her a message from a species called the Vrenkol. They were known for being practical and smart. The message said, to all Vrenkol ships near Velnari space, move to safe distance. Humans are going to war. We have analyzed their military history, probability of human victory. 78%. Do not interfere. Da-eun smiled. They understand. More messages came in. Species were pulling their ships out of the region. Trade routes were being redirected. Some species were even offering to help humanity with supplies. One message came from a small species called the Limtar. They wrote, "We were once refugees too. No one helped us. We admire what you are doing. If you need medical supplies, we will provide them free of charge." Daun forwarded that message to President Sung Ho. He responded immediately, "Accept their offer, and send them our thanks. After this is over, we will remember their kindness too." The 48-hour deadline passed. The Thekvar did not withdraw. Instead, they sent their own message. It was full of threats and insults. They called humans arrogant. They said they would teach humanity a lesson about respecting superior species. Hyunsu read the message and felt nothing but cold determination. They had their chance, he said. He sent one final broadcast. Just 5 words. "We are coming. Remember this." Across human space, 10,000 ships began their jump to Velnari space. 300 years of preparation was about to be tested. Humanity was going to show the galaxy what happened when you crossed their friends. And the Thekvar Empire was about to learn a hard truth. Humans do not forget. And they never forgive those who hurt the ones they love. The first Thekvar commander to see the human fleet thought his sensors were broken. One moment, the space around Velnari Prime was clear. The next moment, 10,000 human warships simply appeared. They did not arrive slowly. They did not send warnings. They just materialized from quantum jumps, all at once, in perfect formation. It was the largest military operation in galactic history. Captain Yonwoo stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil and looked at the Thekvar fleet ahead. 3,000 enemy ships surrounded the Velnari homeworld. They had been bombing the surface for 6 hours. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. Yonwoo opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "This is Captain Yonwoo. To all vessels. 300 years ago, the Velnari saved our species. Today we return the favor. Target all Thekvar military ships. Ignore any surrender attempts. They glassed colony worlds full of children. They do not get mercy. They get justice." She took a breath. "All ships, fire at will." 10,000 human ships opened fire at once. The Thekvar fleet did not know what hit them. Human weapons were different from anything the galaxy used. They did not rely on one type of attack. Humans used kinetic rounds, energy beams, missiles, railguns, plasma cannons, and weapons the Thekvar had never seen before. The first wave destroyed 300 Thekvar ships in 30 seconds. "They are trying to regroup," the tactical officer said. "Forming defensive positions. Break them," Yunwoo ordered. Human ships moved like they were one organism. They did not follow standard fleet tactics. They adapted. They flowed. They found weaknesses and exploited them instantly. A squadron of Thekvar fighters tried to counterattack. They met Ji-won's flight group. Ji-won was 25 years old. She had been flying since she was 15. She was the best pilot in the human fleet. Behind her, 200 other pilots followed her lead. "Target the carrier ships first," Ji-won said. "Cut off their supply lines." Her fighter was small and fast. It moved in ways that should have been impossible. Human pilots trained in high-gravity environments. They could handle forces that would kill other species. They could react in milliseconds. Ji-won's fighter screamed through the Thekvar formation. Her weapons fired continuously. One Thekvar fighter exploded. Then another. Then 5 more. "They are trying to surround us," her wingman said. "Let them," Ji-won replied. She did something that made the Thekvar pilots freeze in confusion. She cut her engines and let her fighter drift. The Thekvar ships flew past her, trying to track her movement, but she was not where they expected. She fired her engines again, spinning in place. Her weapons hit 3 Thekvar fighters that had been behind her. They exploded before they could react. "Human pilots do not follow normal flight patterns," a Thekvar commander reported. "They are too fast. Too unpredictable. We cannot track them. On the surface of Velnari Prime, the fighting was even worse for the Thekvar. Kyung-Soo led 5,000 human marines in a drop assault. They fell from orbit in armored pods that crashed through Thekvar positions like meteors. Before the Thekvar could recover, human soldiers were already fighting. Kyung-Soo was 40 years old. He had been in combat for 20 years. He wore powered armor that made him strong enough to flip cars. His weapons could punch through tank armor. Secure the refugee centers, he ordered. Priority 1 is civilian protection. His squad moved through a Velnari city that was half destroyed. Fires burned everywhere. Bodies lay in the streets. Kyung-Soo felt rage burning in his chest, but he kept it controlled. Anger made you sloppy. He would grieve later. Right now, he had work to do. A Thekvar patrol spotted them. 20 enemy soldiers against 5 humans. The Thekvar opened fire. Human armor absorbed the hits. The shields flared but held. Kyung-Soo's squad did not even slow down. Take them, Kyung-Soo said. The fight lasted 10 seconds. Human marines were trained to operate in any environment, against any enemy. They knew exactly how Thekvar soldiers fought. They had studied every battle, every tactic, every weakness. The Thekvar patrol never had a chance. Clear, one of Kyung-Soo's soldiers reported. They kept moving. Behind them, more human forces landed. Thousands of them. They spread through the city like water, finding every Thekvar position, every enemy soldier. In orbit, the space battle continued. Enemy flagship is trying to escape, Yunwoo's tactical officer reported. Do not let it, Yunwoo said. 3 human destroyers broke formation and chased the Thekvar flagship. It was huge, 5 times larger than any human ship. It had shields that could survive a nuclear blast. It had weapons that could destroy a city in one shot. It did not matter. The human destroyers fired magnetic harpoons. The cables attached to the Thekvar flagship and pulled tight. The flagship tried to break free, but the human ships had already calculated the physics. The flagship's engines strained against the cables and failed. Target their bridge, the destroyer captain ordered. 1 shot. The Thekvar flagship went dark. On New Seoul, Sujin watched everything happen through real-time feeds. She was the logistics coordinator for the entire operation. Her job was to keep the human fleet supplied, keep the soldiers equipped, keep everyone alive. She was very good at her job. Medical ship Delta 5, redirect to Sector 7, she ordered. We have wounded there. Supply convoy Gamma 2. The Marines on the surface need more ammunition. Deliver to coordinates I am sending now. Quote, Temler. Quote, 1. Quote, repair teams, the carrier, Dawn's Light took damage. Move to assist. Sujin had 500 people working under her. They tracked every ship, every soldier, every supply crate. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was forgotten. This was what 300 years of preparation looked like. Humans had practiced this. They had run simulations 10,000 times. They knew exactly how to fight a war, across multiple planets at once. Casualty reports coming in, her assistant said. 200 wounded, 15 dead. Sujin felt each death like a knife. 15 families who would be getting terrible news. 15 people who came to help the Velnari and would never go home. But she pushed the grief down. She would honor them later. Right now, she had to keep the living alive. Medical ships are standing by, she said. Get the wounded out fast. Back in orbit, the Thekvar fleet was collapsing. They are requesting surrender, the communications officer told Yunwoo. Yunwoo thought about the Velnari cities that had been bombed. The children who died. The families destroyed. She thought about what mercy looked like to the Thekvar. Tell them no, she said. Keep firing. Captain, that violates the Galactic Accords. We have to accept surrender. Yunwoo turned to look at her officer. They glassed 3 colony worlds. They murdered millions of civilians. They do not get to surrender now that they are losing. They get accountability. The officer looked uncomfortable. but he nodded. He understood. This was not about following rules. This was about justice. The human fleet pressed forward. Thekvar ships exploded or fled. Some tried to fight back, but it was useless. Humans had better weapons, better training, better tactics, and they had something else. They had purpose. Every human soldier knew why they were fighting. They were honoring a 300-year-old promise. They were protecting the species that had saved them. That knowledge made them unstoppable. By the end of the first day, the space around Velnari Prime was clear. 3,000 Thekvar ships had been destroyed or captured. Not a single one escaped. On the surface, Kyungsu's Marines had secured every major city. Thekvar soldiers were surrendering in groups now, throwing down their weapons when they saw human forces coming. "Sir, we found something," one of his soldiers said. Kyungsu followed him to a building. Inside, they found 50 Velnari civilians. They were alive, but terrified. When they saw the human soldiers, they started crying. An old Velnari approached Kyungsu. His skin was pale blue, and his large eyes were wet with tears. "You came," the Velnari said. "You really came." Kyungsu took off his helmet. He wanted them to see his face, to know he was real. "We promised we would," he said. 300 years ago. We never forgot." The Velnari collapsed, not from injury, but from relief. Other Velnari came forward. Some touched the human soldiers' armor, like they could not believe they were real. "Is it over?" one asked. "Not yet," Kyungsu said. "But it will be soon. We are not just defending you. We are making sure this never happens again." Yeonwoo opened a channel to Admiral Jae-hwan, who was commanding the overall operation. "Sir, Velnari Prime is secure. What are your orders?" Jae-hwan's voice was cold. "We follow them home." "Sir? The Thekvar Empire started this. We are going to finish it. Plot a course to their space. All fleets. We are not stopping until the Thekvar understand what they have done." Yeonwoo smiled. "Understood, sir." The human fleet began to move. They had saved Velnari Prime in one day. Now, they were going to show the galaxy what happened when you crossed humanity's friends. The Thekvar Empire had 10,000 ships at the start. They thought they were powerful. They thought they could do whatever they wanted. They were about to learn a hard lesson. Power is not about how many ships you have. And humanity was willing to fight for the species that saved them 300 years ago. The galaxy watched in shock. The war had just started, but everyone could already see how it would end. Humanity had found something worth fighting for, and that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 1 year after the war started, Hee-jin walked through the memorial on New Seoul. She was a historian, and her job was to record what had happened. Future generations needed to understand this moment, the moment humanity proved what they were. The memorial was simple. A black wall with names carved into it. 2 million names. Every human who died in the war. Not all of them were soldiers. Some were supply workers, medical staff, engineers. People who had never held a weapon but died trying to help. Hee-jin touched one name. Lieutenant Kim Da-hoon. He was a pilot who crashed his damaged fighter into a Thekvar battleship to save his squadron. He was 22 years old. She had interviewed his mother last week. The woman cried through the whole conversation. But at the end, she said something that Hee-jin would never forget. "My son died for something that mattered. He died protecting people who saved us when we had nothing. I miss him every day, but I am proud of him." That was what the war had been about. Not territory, not resources, not power. It was about honoring a debt, about keeping a promise 300 years old. The war lasted 14 days. 14 days to dismantle an empire that had taken 400 years to build. After securing Velnari space, the human fleet did not stop. They followed the Thekvar forces back to their territory. They attacked military bases, shipyards, command centers. They did not target civilians, but they destroyed every military asset the Thekvar had. The Galactic Council tried to intervene. They called for a ceasefire. They demanded humanity stop their attack. President Sung Ho's response was simple. Where were you when the Velnari needed help? Where were you when 3 colony worlds burned? You chose procedure over justice. We chose action. We will stop when the Thekvar can never threaten anyone again. By day 10, the Thekvar Empire was begging for peace. By day 12, they offered complete surrender. By day 14, it was over. The Thekvar lost 9,000 ships. Their military was reduced to local defense forces only. Their territory was cut down to their homeworld, and 2 colony planets. Everything else was returned to species they had conquered over the centuries. Humanity did not take any of it for themselves. They did not ask for payment. They did not demand tribute. They just made sure the Thekvar could never hurt anyone again. Heijin walked away from the memorial and went to her office. She had been collecting stories for months. Interviews with soldiers, with civilians, with Velnari survivors. All of it needed to be preserved. One story stayed with her. It was from a Velnari child named Pelsha. She was 6 years old when the Thekvar attacked. She had been hiding in a basement with her family when human Marines found them. The soldier took off his helmet, Pelsha said in the recording. He had scars on his face. He looked scary. But then, he smiled at me. He gave me food. He told me I was safe now. He said humans never forget their friends. The soldier was Kyung-soo. He had gone on to lead the ground assault on 17 different Thekvar positions. He had saved over 10,000 Velnari civilians personally. He was now a hero on 12 different worlds. But when Heijin interviewed him, he did not want to talk about himself. I was just doing my job, he said. Every human there was doing the same thing. We were honoring a promise. That is all. Heijin looked at all the data she had collected. The battle reports, the casualty lists, the victory records. Humanity had fought the largest military campaign in galactic history, and they won. But the most important part was not the victory. It was why they fought. President Sung Ho stood before the Galactic Council one more time. The chamber was different now. Representatives looked at him with respect instead of dismissal. Fear instead of contempt. The human delegation wishes to make a statement, Council Speaker Talvek said. Sung Ho walked to the center of the chamber. He looked older than he had a year ago. The war had aged him, but his voice was still strong. 1 year ago, I stood in my office and made a choice. To go to war. To risk everything we built. Over 300 years. Some people thought I was crazy. They said we should let the council handle it. They said we should stay out of it. He looked around the chamber. But I remembered something. 300 years ago, when Earth burned, when my ancestors were dying, the council did nothing. The Velnari came. They risked everything to save strangers. They did not ask for permission. They did not wait for votes. They just came. Minding. So when the Velnari needed help, we did not wait either. We honored our debt. And we learned something. The galaxy talks a lot about rules and procedures, about proper channels and diplomatic solutions. But when the bombs are falling, when the children are dying, those words mean nothing. Action is what matters. Talvek started to speak, but Sung Ho raised his hand. I am not finished. The council has offered humanity membership. 5 times we asked. 5 times you said no. Now you offer it freely. We decline. The chamber erupted. Species shouted in confusion. Some in anger. Talvek looked shocked. Why would you refuse? He asked. Because we do not need the council, Sung Ho said simply. The council failed the Velnari. You would have let them die while you debated. We do not want to be part of that system. We will make our own way. Sung Ho. He turned to leave, then stopped. But understand this. Humanity will continue to honor our debts. We will protect those who have helped us. And we will remember those who stood by while innocents died. The galaxy is watching now. They see what we did. They see that we kept a 300-year-old promise. Let that be a lesson. Sung Ho left the chamber. Behind him, the council dissolved into arguments. Some species supported humanity's choice. Others called it arrogance. But everyone understood the message. Humanity was not interested in politics. They were interested in action. 3 months later, Tae Young stood at the entrance to the Federation Military Academy. He was 18 years old, about to start his training. His great-great-great-grandfather had been Tae-won, the diplomat who made the first promise. His instructor was an older woman named Mi-ran. She had fought in the war. She had a metal arm and burned scars on her face. "Why do you want to be a soldier?" she asked him. "Because we have to be ready," Tae Young said. "The war showed us something. The galaxy will not help the weak. We have to be strong enough to help ourselves, and strong enough to help others." Mi-ran nodded. "That is a good answer. But remember something. Strength without purpose is just violence. We do not fight because we like war. We fight because sometimes it is necessary. Because sometimes words are not enough." She pointed to the memorial wall visible from the academy. Those 2 million people died for something that mattered. They died keeping a promise. That is what being a soldier means. Not killing enemies, but protecting what matters. Tae Young looked at the wall. He had memorized the names. All 2 million. It was part of his training. Every cadet had to learn them, so they would never forget the cost of war. "I understand," he said. Mi-ran smiled. "Good. Now come. You have a lot to learn." Across the galaxy, other species were learning too. The war had changed everything. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were the species that kept promises. The species that honored debts. The species you wanted as friends and feared as enemies. Small nations that had been bullied for centuries suddenly found protection. All they had to do was ask humanity for friendship. And humanity remembered who helped them. The Limtar species that offered medical supplies during the war? Humanity built them 3 hospitals and gave them advanced technology for free. The Vrenkol that warned others to stay clear? Humanity opened trade agreements that made them rich. Even species that had stayed neutral found humanity surprisingly generous. If you had not actively worked against them, humans were willing to start fresh. But those who had supported the Thekvar? They found themselves isolated. No one wanted to be associated with the empire that had crossed humanity's friends. Some species that had been Thekvar allies publicly apologized. Others just quietly distanced themselves. The Thekvar Empire itself was a shadow. Their military was gone. Their economy was in ruins. They would spend the next century just recovering. But humanity did not grind them into the dirt. They just made sure the Thekvar could never threaten anyone again. "Overwhelming force, then measured mercy," Sung Ho had said. "We destroy their ability to do harm, but we do not destroy their ability to live. That is the difference between justice and revenge." He-jin finished her historical record. It was thousands of pages long. Every battle, every decision, every life lost. It would be required reading in schools across human space. The last chapter was titled, "What We Learned." It read, "For 300 years, we prepared for war. We built weapons and trained soldiers. We became the species others feared. But we never forgot why we started. We started because someone helped us when we needed it most. The Velnari saved us not because they had to, not because it benefited them, but because it was right. The war taught us something important. Power is not about having the biggest fleet or the strongest weapons. Power is about what you are willing to fight for. We fought for a promise, for honor, for friends who stood by us 300 years ago. That is real power. Other species will remember this war. They will remember that humanity crossed the galaxy to help the Velnari. They will remember that we kept a promise 300 years old. And they will ask themselves, what kind of species does that? What kind of people fights that hard for friends? The answer is simple. The kind you want on your side. The kind you never want to cross. The kind that changes the galaxy just by being in it. We are humanity. We remember. We honor our debts. And the galaxy will never forget that. Tae-young finished his first year at the academy. He learned tactics and strategy. He learned how to use weapons and command troops. But most importantly, he learned why all of it mattered. On his graduation day, he stood with his class and took an oath. Every human soldier took the same oath. It was short and simple. I promise to protect those who cannot protect themselves. I promise to honor the debts of my people. I promise to remember those who came before. I am a guardian. I am a warrior. I am human. That night, he visited the memorial wall. He found his ancestor's name, Tae-1, the diplomat who made the first promise. Next to it was a new addition. A single sentence carved into the stone. We kept our promise. Now the galaxy knows we always will. Tae-young touched the wall. Somewhere in Velnari space, children grew up safe. Families rebuilt their homes. Life continued because humanity had come when they were needed. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 different languages, on 100 different worlds, people told a story. The story of the species that remembered. The species that honored their debts. The species that made the galaxy shudder when they went to war. The story of humanity. And it was just beginning.